As the ancient Greek city-states were invaded by the mighty Persian Empire several times in the 5th century BC, the struggle in the eastern Mediterranean became central to historians. However, simultaneously the Greeks were under attack elsewhere, this time by the nascent Carthaginian Empire. In the rich lands of Sicily, these two famous maritime and mercantile peoples would collide in a lesser-known war, culminating in the Battle of Himera, a battle that set in motion events which would change the face of the world forever. The sponsor of this video, Honeygain, is a smart app that allows you to make money online simply by sharing your internet connection with others. It's essentially Airbnb for your internet plan. By sharing your internet with the Honeygain network, you can cover your monthly subscriptions, like Kings and Generals membership as an example, and the best part is it's essentially passive income. Your device will do the work. Setting up is easy. Visit honeygain.com or follow the link in the description below and download the app for your Windows, macOS or Android device. Honeygain's app connection is inaccessible by outsiders and is fully encrypted, guaranteeing private information is unreachable. Rest assured and make money from home without any security threats. Leave your device connected and you will be paid for the amount of gigabytes you share and the time you're connected. Don't miss this opportunity and join millions of users making their lives better thanks to the sharing economy. And don't forget to use the code Kings and Generals to get an initial bonus of $5 to your new Honeygain account. After the fall of Mycenaean Greek civilization during the Bronze Age collapse and the Dark Ages that followed it, the Greek world entered a period of city-states, and of all the changes which occurred during this revolutionary era, permanent overseas colonies established by migrants from the Greek states were perhaps the greatest in terms of long-term significance. It was motivated by many possible factors, including commercial benefit, resource acquisition, religious motivation, human exploratory desire, and perhaps most prominently, overpopulation and a lack of arable land in the homeland. Many regions were profoundly affected by the proliferating Greek settlers, spanning the entire Mediterranean world and even beyond. From the coasts of the Black Sea to the seaboard of modern Libya and southern Gaul, Greek culture, material, trade, and peoples planted seeds in much of Europe and the Aegean world. By 500 BC, around 1,500 of these independent small city-states existed. Among the most prominent regions settled by the archaic Greeks were the lands of Magna Graecia and Sicily in the central Mediterranean. Thucydides tells us that the east coast city of Naxos, founded in 734 BC, was the first Greek colony on the island. Next to arise was the city of Syracuse, slightly to the south of Naxos, and founded the year after Naxos by a Corinthian known as Archias and his followers. The first truly permanent Greek Sicilian settlement was Gela, established in 688 BC. Over the subsequent centuries, additional waves of settlers came to the rich lands of Sicily and gradually pushed to the west, where cities such as Acragas and Selinus came into existence. As the Greeks edged further to the west, they began to encounter another great Mediterranean civilization, the Carthaginian Empire, centered in modern-day Tunisia. The peoples who had founded Carthage, the Phoenicians, were a prosperous thalassocratic people who had long supplied the massive West Asian empires with valuable materials and luxury goods, making tremendous profits from the exchanges. The Bronze Age collapse of the Greek world conversely ushered in a 3-century-long Phoenician Golden Age among the independent Levantine cities, during which they were free from serious external interference. The first colonies of the Phoenicians were likely just trading outposts established during the late 9th and early 8th centuries BC, some of which were located in Sicily's western regions, including Motia, Panomus, and Soluntum. More colonists from Tyre, led by the exiled royal Elissa, supposedly set off for Africa after a dynastic struggle in the mother city, where they first established the city of Carthage in 814 BC. By 650 BC, Carthage gained its independence, and gradually expanded its trade routes and influence into Africa, the Western Mediterranean, and Sicily. It seems as though initially Greeks, natives, and Phoenicians existed without much major conflict. However, around 580 BC, a group of colonists from Knidos attempted to colonize the area near Lilybaeum using force, but were driven away by the natives and Phoenicians in the first instance of serious conflict over Sicilian land. Another factor which heightened tensions was the final severing of Carthage from its mother city of Tyre by the rising Achaemenid Empire in the last third of the 6th century BC. In reaction to this, Carthage began to expand even more vigorously. Primary targets were the now isolated Phoenician trading posts and cities, some of whom sought protection from their Phoenician kin in Carthage, though some would resist absorption. Meanwhile, in the Greek regions on the eastern and southern Sicilian coast, social change was occurring swiftly. Intense social stratification, inequality, and possibly Carthaginian pressure led to the rise of tyrants in the cities of Sicily. Initially taking root in cities such as Selinus, the tyrannos phenomena spread to Gela, where a man named Cleandrus seized power in 505 BC. He ruled for 7 years, and notably built the city's first wall, possibly indicating the heightened danger of attack. In 498 BC, Cleandrus died and was succeeded by his brother Hippocrates, who took the throne for himself. His reign as tyrant would initiate a brief golden age for the city of Gela. Hippocrates first secured elite armed forces for himself. A select bodyguard, a renowned cavalry force, strong infantry units, and a contingent of native Sicilian mercenaries would be used to create the first empire in Sicily. He first targeted the rich and wealthy plain of Catania and besieged the city of Leontini in order to take it for himself. He was successful in short order and then struck north at the city of Naxos. Advancing further up the east coast, Hippocrates then put to siege the city of Messana, one of the largest centres on the island, which was located on the northeasternmost tip of Sicily. After capturing it, the Gelan tyrant installed a tyrant named Scythes to rule it. Now turning southwards once again towards the illustrious city of Syracuse, Hippocrates decisively defeated an army from that city next to the Helorus River in 492 BC. Reacting to this defeat, the Syracusan population blamed their oligarchs and expelled them from the city. The Gelan leader waited for the civil strife to give the city to him rather than besieging it, but this did not happen. In exchange for the prisoners he had taken in the battle, he was given the city of Camarina instead. Finally, in 491, Hippocrates was killed during an attack against native Sicilians on the slopes of Mount Etna. He left the city of Gela at the head of a seemingly burgeoning empire. Many cities decided to adopt democracy, but they were crushed by an aristocratic cavalry commander named Gelon, who then made himself the new tyrant of Gela and its new territories. The details of his first years in power are uncertain, but his position was so insecure that the crucial Messana was lost to pro-Carthaginian insurrectionists. 489 BC saw tensions between the pro-Punic city of Selinus and the anti-Punic Ecragus flare up, leading to a few border skirmishes. The threat of Carthaginian interference led to the signing of a treaty between Gela and Ecragus, which was also led by a tyrant named Theron. Ever since its army had been defeated in 492, the city of Syracuse had suffered from civil strife. Its oligarchs, who had withdrawn to the fortress at Casmene after their exile, were now supported by Gelon. With their combined effort, Syracuse fell into Gelon's clutches and the oligarchs were reinstalled. The tyrant then made the newly captured Syracuse his new capital, as it possessed a magnificent harbour and a stalwart island fortress. Leaving Gela to govern at his new capital, Gelon left his brother Hieron in his home city. Aiming to boost the prosperity of his new capital, Gelon razed the Greek cities of Camarina, Megara Hyblaea and Euboea before deporting their populations to Syracuse, which became the richest and largest city of Sicily as a result. Sicily was now split between two rival blocks. Syracuse, Acragas and their Hellenic allies were situated on the south and east coast, while the Carthaginians and their sympathizers sat on the north and west sides of the island. The city of Himera was now strategically crucial, as it was a critical point connecting the various pro-Punic cities across the northern edge of the island. Its leader, the tyrant Terillus, was a staunch anti-Syracusan, and was even a friend of the Carthaginian ruler Hamilcar of the Maganid dynasty. Tensions heightened even more when Theron expelled Terillus from Himera in 482, who then appealed to his friend Hamilcar for aid. It was clear that the decisive conflict between the blocks was fast approaching. As the opposing forces began making their preparations, Greek envoys from the homeland pleaded for Gelon's assistance, as this was the time during which massive Persian armies and fleets led by Xerxes attacked. Not in a position to aid as he was occupied by his own war, Gelon refused. It was widely speculated in Greek propaganda that the Achaemenid king and Carthage had made an alliance to destroy Hellenic civilization, but this has been widely discredited by modern scholars. The Syracusan tyrant supposedly sent an envoy to the Persian king with gifts of gold, as well as earth and water, the traditional symbols of submission to Persia. Herodotus tells us that a total of 50,000 infantry and 5,000 cavalry made up Gelon and Theron's army, but this is likely exaggerated. We can instead estimate a more modest total of 30,000 infantry and 2,000 cavalry. The footmen were probably traditional Greek-style hoplites, well trained and equipped with the 3-meter-long dory spear, Xiphos short sword and the hoplon round shield in order to shield the man to their right side. In Carthage, preparations were headed by the chief magistrate, Hamilcar, the friend of Terillus. The elite corps of the Phoenician army was a small contingent of select guard from Carthage itself, but these were heavily outnumbered by the raising of a huge mercenary force, which Carthage became famous for. Libyan Phoenicians from North Africa and Iberians from Spain formed the main force, but Ligurians, Sardinians, Corsicans and Sicilian Greek cavalrymen from Selinus also joined Hamilcar's force. Its total strength is unknown, but the 300,000 men attested to by Herodotus is by no means credible. The course of the battle suggests that Hamilcar's army was probably only slightly larger than Gelon's, but was inferior in training and equipment. Setting sail from Carthage, Hamilcar embarked with a fleet of many hundreds of transport ships, escorted by 60 high-quality triremes. He initially wanted to land at Selinus in order to attack Acragas, but changed his mind and headed for Panomus instead. It is likely that he chose this course of action because restoring Terillus to the throne of Himera was his primary goal, to which the conquest of Sicily was a secondary aim. On the voyage, Carthage's fleet was smashed by strong storms in the Strait of Sicily, and he lost the vessels carrying his chariots and cavalry. His remaining ships landed at Panomus, where Hamilcar disembarked his forces, reorganized, and began to march east along the coast, with his fleet sailing parallel to them. At Himera, Theron was already encamped with his army when the Carthaginians arrived. They constructed two camps, one for the army on a hill to the west of the city, and one for the navy on the northern coast. Both were joined by earthworks and palisades. Shortly after his camps were finished, Hamilcar led his elite Carthaginian units on a reconnaissance mission and defeated a small force of Theron's Greeks in a pitched battle outside of the city. Theron then retreated behind the walls and sent a messenger to his ally Gelon asking for help. At the same time, Carthaginian forces foraged in the seemingly secure region. However, Gelon arrived in the region not long after receiving the request for aid, sent out his cavalry and captured the foragers, which restored the morale of Theron's forces. Supposedly on the same day as the Battle of Salamis, the actions of Gelon's cavalry prompted Hamilcar to send a message of his own south to his allies in Selinus, requesting cavalry reinforcements to replace his own which had been lost at sea. Unfortunately for him, the letter was intercepted by Gelon, who planned to use his own horsemen to impersonate Hamilcar's allies and infiltrate the sea camp. The saboteurs left the Syracusan camp under the veil of darkness, and at daybreak arrived at the Carthaginian sea camp, quickly being allowed in to the enemy fortification. Seeing their comrades' success from the slopes of the hill, Gelon ordered his army to advance on the enemy army camp, whose inhabitants then formed up on the hilltop. Battle was joined, with the Greeks charging up the slopes, prompting a long and fierce struggle during which neither side gained any ground. Shortly after the main battle began, Hamilcar, who was inside the sea camp, was killed by the saboteurs, who then set fire to the beached ships, causing massive amounts of confusion. The ships that could do set sail and retreated. When news of Hamilcar's death reached the melee on the hillside, the demoralized Carthaginians routed and fled to the camp, while the Greeks rallied and pushed forward. It seemed like victory would now come easily, but as Gelon's army scattered to loot the camp, Hamilcar's veteran Iberian mercenaries regrouped and attacked the now disorganized Greek forces, almost turning the battle for Carthage. Despite this admirable recovery, Theron now burst out of the city with his own army and attacked the Iberians from the flank. This was the final straw, and the remaining Carthaginian forces either routed towards the inland hills or the few remaining Phoenician ships. Almost the entire Punic army was destroyed, but the Greeks only imposed moderate terms on their defeated foe. Carthage paid 2,000 silver talents as a war indemnity, but lost no territory, while Himera was confirmed as part of Greek territory. The wars on Sicily would continue for the next century, and we are thinking about covering them, so make sure you are subscribed to our channel and have pressed the bell button. We would like to express our gratitude to our Patreon supporters and channel members who make the creation of our videos possible. Now you can also support us by buying our merchandise via the link in the description. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.